Hello and welcome. In Zimbabwe, something fundamental is at stake, the Constitution itself. Today, we're going to unpack a really intense story involving bombings, abductions, and a high-stakes political fight that could genuinely change the future of the entire nation. So, picture this. It's Harare, just before dawn. The city is quiet, and then, bam, an explosion just shatters that peace. This wasn't some random act of violence. It was a message. It was the first shot fired in a major political conflict. The target of that explosion was a research institute called the Southern Africa Political Economy Series Trust, or SAPES, and its founder, Dr. Mnangagwa, he didn't mince words. He immediately called it a targeted arson attack. So right from the get-go, this is being framed not as a random incident, but as a deliberate, calculated act of intimidation. And it turns out, this was way more than just a single bombing. It was actually a rapid-fire series of events, and it seems like every single one was designed to send a very, very chilling message. Okay, so look at how quickly this all unfolds. At 12:40 in the morning, the SAPES Trust gets hit. Just 20 minutes later, the security guard who was on duty there, he's abducted. And then an hour after that, all the way across the city, the home of an activist named Gilbert Mundwende is completely destroyed by fire. You don't have to be a detective to see the pattern here. This was a coordinated attack on anyone who might speak out. So that brings us to the big question, right? Why? Why this sudden violent escalation? Well, the answer seems to lie in a fundamental pillar of the nation's democracy, its constitution, and more specifically, the rules about who can lead the country and for how long. At the heart of all of this is a concept you've definitely heard of, presidential term limits. They're a really crucial democratic safeguard, right? They're designed specifically to prevent any one leader from holding on to power forever. And in Zimbabwe, that very principle is now at the center of this storm. According to the former member of parliament, Tendai Biti, this is about defending the very soul of their democracy. In fact, the whole reason for the press conference that was supposed to happen at the bombed-out SAPES Trust, well, it was to launch a coalition to, in his words, stop the vandalization of our Constitution. So if one side is trying to protect the Constitution, who exactly is trying to change it? The answer to that lies with the ruling party and its pretty clear ambition to keep its leader in power. We're talking about the Zanu PF party. They've held power in Zimbabwe for 45 years. Now, at a recent party conference, they decided to go after constitutional amendments. And the goal is pretty specific, to allow the current president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, to stay in office all the way to 2030. That's 2 years past his legally mandated final term. Now, you might be wondering, how could they even do that? Well, the key is this one number, 2/3. Zanu PF has a commanding 2/3 majority in parliament, and that gives them the legislative muscle they need to push through changes to the Constitution. So you can see the conflict here is crystal clear. On one side, you have a coalition of citizens trying to protect the rules, and on the other, you have a very powerful state machinery that's looking to change those very rules. And when you put these two sides next to each other, the contrast is, well, it's pretty stark. You've got this pro-democracy coalition, a broad, non-partisan group, and they're facing violent attacks and police crackdowns. And on the other side, the ruling Zanu PF party, with 45 years of power, the entire state apparatus, and that critical 2/3 majority in parliament. It's a classic case of an asymmetrical fight.
With the battle lines drawn so clearly, the huge question becomes, what happens next? The road ahead is, really uncertain. It all seems to hinge on this complex dance between political power and public pressure.
According to one expert, Stephen Chan from the University of London, public opinion is just not on the ruling party's side here. He's pretty convinced that if this proposal to extend term limits was put to a public vote, a referendum, it would lose. And that suggests the party knows it can't win a direct appeal to the people, which is probably why they're trying to use their power in parliament instead. But, and this is a huge but, here's where the reality on the ground kicks in. Musa Kika from the Institute for Human Rights and Development in Africa adds this really crucial counterpoint. He argues that the only thing that could really stop this is mass public protest. But he says the chances of that happening right now are pretty low, mainly because of past crackdowns and just weak grassroots organizing. So even if the public doesn't want this change, their ability to effectively fight back is really limited. And that leaves us with this central, kind of troubling question at the heart of this whole thing. It's a dilemma that citizens face in a lot of countries, really. When the very institutions of power are being used to dismantle the rules that are supposed to protect everyone, what options do ordinary people actually have left? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. If you found this breakdown valuable, liking and sharing it is genuinely the best way to support our work. It really helps our channel grow and lets us keep covering these important stories.
Bye-bye for now, and we'll catch you on the next one.